Hey girl, welcome to the kitchen. We're gonna make some American buttercream. This is a buttercream which is very versatile, very simple. It's gonna be suitable for piping onto cupcakes, for using in layer cakes, for decorating cookies, anything where you need a really solid, stable buttercream. Very good to use with food coloring, flavoring, everything like that. So it differs a little bit from like a Swiss meringue or Italian meringue buttercream, which are a bit more decadent, something you might use on like a lemon meringue pie or something like that. But this is what you're going to be probably leaning towards anyway if you're doing cakes. So there are an awful lot of recipes for vegan buttercream all across the world. In Australia here, we don't have many of the products that are often referenced. So some of them, ones from the UK you might hear, which are butter substitutes, are Trex. In the US, Earth Balance is another popular one. We don't really have those products here in Australia. So these are the three things you're gonna need for the buttercream. We need icing sugar, powdered sugar, whatever you want to call it. It must be sifted. It must be sifted. I hate this job so much. But you have to do it because you might as well just not even make the buttercream. Ideally twice sifted, just to make sure there's no lumps in there. That's the sugar component. The only other component we need is fat. I find from my years of experience, the best combination is using equal parts Copher with, equal parts Copher, there's the Copher, with equal parts Nuttelex. Nuttelex and Copher are both very readily available here in Australia. I use, what do we use? Nuttelex, the original. I have used buttery before. I find it maybe has a bit too much of a buttery taste for buttercream. The original, I reckon, is just the most neutral and the most versatile. So what I've got in front of me here is half a kilo of icing sugar, which is just one pack of icing sugar, and equal parts Copher and Nuttelex, 125 grams of each. Really important about temperatures here. Nuttelex is cold, it's come out of the fridge, okay, solid state. Copher has been sitting at room temperature for at least 24 hours. When I buy my Copher for icing, I just keep it in an airtight container outside of the fridge. This is just refined coconut oil. It's not gonna go rancid or off or anything like that if it's not in a fridge. It's just coconut oil. So keep it in an airtight container. If you try and do this while the Copher is hard, your buttercream's gonna fail. If you try and melt this or be sneaky and put it in the microwave, you're gonna end up with a puddle of bleh. So combining these two fats together give us something that's quite stable at room temperature while still being a little bit malleable, and something that's a little bit softer and smoother. So that's why we use a combination of these two fats, to give us something that's gonna pipe well, but still hold its shape. Enough talking. I'm gonna use a stand mixer for this with a flat blade. You could use a hand mixer if you wanted to, with the egg beaters on the ends. But if you're gonna use a stand mixer, always use a flat blade because we're wanting to scrape and whip the bowl. Alrighty, enough talking, let's put this all together. First thing we need to do is we need to whip and cream our fats. So I'm gonna put in my 125 grams of Copher, which you can see when I squeeze it, it's what they call squeezably soft or room temp, so it basically holds its shape. It's not hard, it's not soft, it's not a puddle. And then we're gonna throw in the Nuttelex. Come over to our stand mixer, lock the bowl in, and then we're just gonna let that whip for a good 5 to 7 minutes. You cannot overwork buttercream. The buttercream really can just kind of go for as long as its heart desires. Every couple of minutes, maybe every 2 minutes or so, you're gonna wanna take the bowl out and just scrape everything down, because you're gonna end up with chunks of the fat at the bottom, on the blade as well, and paddle. So you just wanna take it out, get all the way to the bottom, just get it reintroduced. Beating the fat right now and beating the buttercream in general is gonna result in a whiter, brighter buttercream. We're gonna do a rainbow buttercream today, but if you just want a pure white buttercream, the secret to achieving that is just letting this whip for quite a long time. And then once we add the sugar in, same thing. The more air that you introduce into the buttercream, the lighter and whiter it's gonna be. Alrighty, once we're happy with the consistency of our butter mix, we're gonna add the sugar. I like to use my paddle as a little extra hand to get it all off. Very scientific method, dump it in. If you want to sift it in again for good luck, go ahead. Before I turn on the mixer and put it back in, I always make sure I give it a thorough stir. Not only to drag some of the butter mix up from the bottom, but also to just coat the sugar in the fat so that it doesn't go flying everywhere. I haven't got one of those mixers that have a guard over it, so we're doing it the old-fashioned way. You can see it's like lightly crumbed, and that's not gonna go flying everywhere, hopefully. Back into the mixer, back to beat for a few more minutes. Lock it down. Start out slow. Crank it up. Just like when we were creaming Nuttelex and Copher before, you need to stop it every few minutes to scrape down the sides, because you can see all of this buttercream is just collecting up the top and it's no longer getting mixed in. So you just want to scrape it down, and you can see the big color differences. Some of it's really quite white and then some of it's still really quite yellow at this stage. We want it to be one homogeneous color by the end. It should be nice and light and fluffy. Alright, I'm gonna call buttercream done. It's nice and light and fluffy. It's all one color. It's homogeneous. It's looking pretty good. Now, at this point in time, this is where we can start to play with any additions, including liquids. This buttercream's pretty thick right now. I'm gonna use it on cupcakes, and we're gonna pipe some pretty structured stuff. If you want to do a smoother buttercream or something that is just a little wetter and silkier, you could put maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons of soy milk, almond milk. We usually use almond because it's pretty nice and neutral in here, to just help loosen it up a little bit. Like if you were just going to use a palette knife or a bread knife and just slice a cake really roughly with it, you might want to do that. This is going to be a little bit more structured, so it's a bit of a thicker buttercream. One thing to note is if you leave it like this in a thicker form and you're going to try and add coloring, which we're going to do, if you use things like reds and black food coloring is really tricky because it takes a lot of time to develop. So my recommendation is color it, leave it for like half an hour at room temperature. It'll keep developing color. You might find that you end up with little flecks of white through it, so adding a little bit of almond milk right now would help to kind of mitigate some of that. Today I'm going to be adding gel food coloring as well as some oil. So I got some chocolate oil. We've got some mint cupcakes we're going to add to this. So oils are really concentrated, so we only need to add a few drops. If you're going to use any sort of liquid food flavoring, I would definitely not add that almond milk until the very end, so that you're sure you're not going to end up with a wet buttercream. Really the only solution to a wet buttercream is to add more sugar and beat it for longer, so we kind of want to avoid that from happening. So I've just quickly combined that. Now we're going to do a rainbow buttercream today, which involves splitting up into different bowls. If I was going to color this all one color, I would do it right now in this bowl. You really cannot overwork this buttercream. You just can't. It cannot be done. If I only wanted a small batch of this, I could take half of it out now, throw it in the freezer. It'll last for a very long time. All you need to do is bring it back to room temperature, bring it out half an hour or so before you want to whip it up again, throw it back in the stand mixer and whip again. If you've got leftovers, throw it back in the fridge. So we're going to make our rainbow buttercream. So what we're going to need for that today is a couple of different bowls. We're going to split this into 3 different colors. We're going to use electric green, electric pink, and electric blue from Americolor. So we need to split this into 3 different bowls. The other tools you're going to need to achieve this look is some cling wrap, some piping tips, and nearly forgot, a piping bag. Some video tutorials out there achieve the same look by putting your different colors straight into the piping bag, but I'm not that talented, so we're going to do it the cheats way. First things first, we need to just roughly divide this into our different colors. Just gonna grab bits of the buttercream. That's kind of looks about right. Now we're gonna go for a really vibrant look today. I'm not gonna hold back with the food coloring. If you're after a pastel look, then use caution when you're doing this. But I kind of want to go all out. So there's our electric green. Let's do electric blue over here. Again, gel food coloring is really concentrated, really vibrant, so you don't need a lot of it. And electric pink. Let's do the stand mixer one first, because you're going to be able to see that really easily. This is really pink. This is pretty pink. I put a lot of coloring in this, so that's okay though. That's kind of the look we're going to go for apparently. While that's whipping away, I'm just going to do some of these other colors mixed by hand using a spoon. I've just got the green here and we're just doing it with a spoon. Again, don't be worried about deflating any air or anything like that. It is what it is. We just want to make it one nice smooth color. So there's our green. And then finally, our blue. There we go. Okie dokie. So let's do a checklist. Come over here, have a look at these. So there's our 3 beautiful looking colors. What we're going to do is we're going to use a piece of cling wrap here, and we're going to line up these colors next to each other to form little banks. You just need to grab one more spoon. So nice big piece of plastic. You could use some greaseproof maybe if you wanted to, or silicone. Make it reusable. We haven't got that many cupcakes to do today, so I'm only just going to do a small amount of this. What should I do next? Blue probably. It's closest to pink. We want to try and make it as even as possible, because if you've got different lumps kind of happening throughout this, when it comes time to pipe it, they might come all out at the same time. And then lastly, our green. Now I have tried to play around with this method and kind of swirl colors throughout or dot them throughout. Kind of doesn't really work on cupcakes. It kind of does on larger cakes where you have using a lot of buttercream and you can see the effect, but I kind of like to play it pretty straight when I do these cupcakes and just do little bar lines like that. Cool. Next step is to make a little sausage. So we're just going to roll him all the way over so that the cling wrap's touching each other at the top here. And then we're just going to roll it all up so we have a nice little sausage like that. We're going to tie off both ends. One end we don't need to really care about that much. The other end we want to securely tie. So at least a knot, if not 2. This is going to be the top of the buttercream. This bottom bit here, we're just going to cut right off. Now you can see that these buttercreams start at different sections in here, so we want to try and get where they all start together. So I'm just going to cut off a fair bit of that. Go. Now let's talk about tips. There are so many tips out there that we can use for decorating. These are 2 of my favorite, Wilton 1M and the Wilton 2D. Very common tips, readily available. I reckon these sizes work perfectly for cupcakes. You get a really appropriately proportioned bit of buttercream. If I'm doing a bigger cake, I might choose to use a bigger tip. And of course, if I'm doing mini cakes or trying to do really fine detail work, I use little tiny tips. Best way to sort of learn what you like best is just to go grab a bunch of tips. Use buttercream. Make up a batch of buttercream. try piping, you can scrape it all back into the bag and keep reusing it and reusing it while you're still experimenting with the tips. So today I'm going to use the 2D, which is a closed star. So you can you see that? That's a closed star, which is the 2D, and that's the 1M, which is an open star. Slightly different effects. This one will just have a little bit more of a closed-in rosette kind of look. Got these bags here which we reuse. We wash them and reuse them. If it's brand new, you just need to snip the tip off, so it just needs to be exposed. So you've got about half the tip in there, half the tip out. And here comes the magic bit. We're just gonna grab our sausage, cut end goes straight down into our piping bag. Give it a good shake so that it goes down as far as we possibly can into the tube, which is a pretty severe cut off. Anyway. Now, we need to seal off the top. So grab it at the top of our little sausage that we've created, give it a good twist, and then I like to usually fold this over and hold it like this. Whenever you're piping, you need to make sure you're pressing from the top downwards. If you grab the middle and squeeze, you're going to push half the buttercream down that way, half the buttercream back up that way. So always applying pressure from the top down. As you start to use more and more buttercream, you just need to move your hand down, twist it a bit more again, keep pushing downward pressure. That way you're going to avoid explosion at the top of your bag. So we're just going to get this ready before we grab our cupcake. So I'm going to do a test pipe. Just going to squeeze from the top into my bowl here. This first little squeeze, I'm expecting a bit of a hodgepodge of colors, so mainly pink. We've got some blue. Let's get a little bit of rose. Okay, so we're starting to get all the colors come through. That looks pretty cool. So right about now is when I'd be happy to kind of say the colors are all even. Okay, so we're gonna grab some cupcakes and then we're gonna top them off and decorate them. These cupcakes that have magically appeared from a different video, which you can check out if you'd like to see how we made them. We're gonna take them and we're gonna decorate them using 4 different techniques. We've got our rainbow buttercream ready and raring to go. Hot tips, make sure your cakes are cooled either completely at room temperature for like a good hour, hour and a half, or they've come from the fridge. Never attempt to try and ice hot cakes because the buttercream is just gonna melt off. Okay, it's not gonna set and it's just gonna be a very sad mess. If you've got any really weird lumpy bumpy things happening and you're trying to achieve something that's like a really flat structure, just cut that off. Okay, we're gonna cover it with buttercream. So now would be your time to level cakes if you were gonna do a layer cake, but we're just gonna do these cupcakes. So come on in, let's do our rainbow buttercream. I'm gonna start with just really baked classic swirl. So we're going to start from the outside here. My nozzle tip is vertical. I'm going to just push down from the top of my bag, follow that cupcake around, come back in on itself, and then when I get to the center, I'm just going to pull up sharply and release pressure. That's just your really simple, classic looking cupcake. Number 2, we can achieve a really cool look by doing the exact opposite of that, where we start at the middle. And this is a rose, so we're going to start in the middle and we're going to work our way out. Now I'm lifting the buttercream up just a little bit up so I'm not dragging it through the previous layer. And then when I get to here, I just pull away. Oh, a bit of a boo-boo there. And patch that one. Beauty of buttercream, if you really stuff it up, just scrape it off and start again. You can see there's a rose look. So 2 very easy looks from using exactly the same tip. Alrighty, this one here, I'm gonna try and do this. I'm gonna go straight down and then lift on up. This could probably do with a few little pipes around it. Little ruffles are going up. This is weird doing it one-handed. There we go, cute little ruffle. Using the same tip. And our very last one, we can just do some very basic stars if we wanted to. So I'm just pushing down so the buttercream comes in contact with the cupcake and then pulling up and away. Again, it doesn't matter if they're not all absolutely perfect because you can always go back on top and layer it and fix it up as needed. Maybe one more. Cool. So there you go. 4 very different looking cupcakes using the same buttercream, using one tip. So it doesn't take much to make something look really pretty. And using a combination then as well. Sometimes I like to use a combination of the rose look with these sort of little dollops on larger cakes. I'm Dave. That is how I make my vanilla buttercream and how you can make a cute little rainbow cupcake for yourself at home. So it looks pretty cute.